I'm going to use wet on wet technique to paint the sky. So I begin by wetting the paper. The paper should be damp enough to glisten, but not so wet that there are puddles of water. This level of moisture is ideal for painting a gradient sky. I'm loading my brush with a medium value of ultramarine. To create a gradient wash, I start at the top of the paper with the loaded brush, and as I move down the paper, the pigment on the brush gradually decreases until there is no pigment left when I reach the bottom of the paper. This method creates a smooth transition from medium to light value to create the gradient effect. Now tilt the board to collect any excess pigment near the masking tape and wipe it away using a waistcloth. Next, I mix ultramarine with gamboge yellow to create a green which is used to paint the distant mountains. These mountains are painted while the paper is still wet. You can see I'm using a very light value to paint the distant mountain. The consistency of the pigment and the level of dampness on the paper are crucial at this point. Because if the paper is too damp, the pigment will spread uncontrollably. If the paper is too dry, then the pigment won't create the visual effect of the distant mountain fading into the atmosphere. Using a light value of ultramarine, I paint the shadowed areas of the mountain. I assume there is a light source on the right side of the mountains, so I focus on painting shadows on the left side of the peaks. Once the paper is completely dry, I mix ultramarine with gamboge yellow to get a medium value of green, which I use to paint the second row of mountains. Next, I'm using medium value of ultramarine to paint the shadowed area of the mountains. Next, I'm using a clean wet brush to gently touch the edges of the paint that I've just applied in order to create a soft transition. This feathering technique helps to avoid any harsh edges. Next, I mix indigo with small amount of gamboge yellow and yellow ochre to get a bluish green, which is used to paint the mountains on the foreground. To paint the shadowed part of these mountains, I used Payne's Grey. After allowing the paper to dry completely, I sketched some birds using pencil. Next, I applied Payne's Grey over the pencil sketch. If you feel confident painting birds, you can skip the pencil sketch and paint them directly using watercolor pigment. We have reached the end of this painting process. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. See you in the next video. Until then, take care and bye bye from Prema.